Good evening, beautiful people of the You Create the Dream page, and welcome to Awaken the Dream. This is take two. The things that go on. Here we go. Now, I'm not sure if that is. Oh, okay. That is the previous video that did appear. I will just wait a moment, make sure that everything is flowing smoothly. This is our Awake in the Dream call. Take two. Okay, do say hi as you come on. Let me know that you're here. I do always love to acknowledge your beautiful presence. Let's just go right out of that. So I am again tonight answering one of our group members' questions. Hello, I am back. Take two. I had to literally, we had glitches. I disappeared and I've had to reconnect. Good evening, beautiful Marina. Good evening, beautiful Valerie. How are you, ladies? Do say hi, everyone, as you come on. I do love to acknowledge your presence. So I'm going to actually start with a fairly bold statement, and that is if you don't trust your own gut instinct, if you don't trust your own inner knowing, then you become very easy to influence. And it's not because you're disconnected from source, because you can never be disconnected from source. But what happens is you are disconnected from self. You are disconnected from your own center, disconnected from your own truth, disconnected from what would normally be a calm and clean yes that doesn't need 1,000 reasons. Now, if you've done any of my programs before, you will know I'm always saying the mind tells stories, the mind waffles. The heart is a clean yes or no. It's a couple of words. It doesn't ramble. If there's rambling, then that is not your intuition speaking. That is not guidance speaking. That is the noise of the head. So tonight's call is inspired by one of our beautiful members, Brianna. And her question was, how to step into your power of knowing, of making decisions, trusting your gut and knowing that it is the right decision, right? And I think that's something that is so fitting for a whole lot of people. So it's a great question, and it's not just about decision making. I think it runs deeper than that because it really comes down to personal power and clarity. So the moment you learn to trust your knowing, you stop being pulled by a sense of urgency. You stop being moved by feelings of guilt. You stop being controlled by fear dressed as logic. And fear has a very, very clever way of dressing itself as logic. So what happens is you stop bypassing your truth for other people's opinions. I can't begin to tell you how often I have people say, I just want to run something by you. Do you think this or this? Do you think I should do this or this? Because they know, but they don't trust their knowing, so they rely on somebody outside of them. When you are in your power, when you are in your center, you stop bypassing your truth for the opinions of other people. And like in the world that we're living in right now, it is extremely noisy, right? It's loud, it's fast, it's emotionally charged. And in this noisy world, one of the most valuable skills that you can build isn't ever, it is a great question, isn't it, Marina? It isn't ever going to be more information. You don't need more information. I think the issue is people, what is it, the term? Paralysis by analysis. People aren't moving because they're overthinking. People aren't making the changes they know they should. People aren't following their dreams because they're caught in overthinking. They're literally caught in overdrive. So we don't need more information. What we need is discernment. And as most of you know, I launched my fourth book last Monday evening, which became a bestseller. Thanks so much to all of you for your love, for your support. It's been an incredible week. And not only were we number one in quite a few categories, but we're still in the top 10 in many categories. So it's been amazing. And truly, I think for me, I mean, it's lovely to have the little, logo and what have you, but More than that, for me, I was born to share the message that you are the power in your world, to show you the way. And for me, more than anything, it's like, oh my God, hallelujah. Yeah, people are ready to listen. People are wanting to live wide awake. They're wanting to start to see more clearly. So for me, the success of the book is evidence that a shift is happening. So I'm super, super, super excited about that and extremely grateful to each and every one of you. So thank you. But the wisdom of that book is so relevant, I think, to this particular topic. And if I was to share with you the first eyes wide open truth, let's say, of tonight, and this question is the discernment piece, because discernment isn't a personality trait. It's not a personality trait at all. Discernment is a nervous system state. I want you to think about that for a moment. Discernment is a nervous system state, and I will explain it. Because when your nervous system is hijacked, you don't lose intelligence, you lose access. Now, those that have done my programs will often hear me say, when emotion is high, intelligence is low, you go into overload, right? And when emotion is high, you're generally not feeling all safe and secure and grounded and centered in your system, right? So you don't lose intelligence, you lose access. And if you're losing access, you're losing access to intuition, access to timing. And what I mean by that, access to knowing it's okay. There's enough time. You've got enough time to stop, to catch your breath, to, come back into alignment. Don't go rushing into anything, right? But when you're in an emotional state, you're losing access to the belief that you have time. You lose access to pattern recognition. You lose access to that inner authority that says, hang on a minute, is this right for me? Without the drama, without the drama. So tonight is really about a return to that, not to confidence as an idea, but to connection as a real life felt experience. Because the thing is, your intuition is never missing. But so many people say, oh, I can't access my intuition like I used to. I used to be really intuitive, but not anymore. You're in overload. You're in information overload. And in information overload, you're caught up here and you're not aware of here. So your intuition, hey, beautiful Carrie, how are you? Your intuition is never missing. Your intuition is often just drowned out. And it gets drowned out by covert influence, not only, unfortunately, out there, right? So you're not drowned out just by the noise out there, but you're also drowned out by the inside of you. That, it's covert influence inside the system or inside your system. And what I mean by that is your old programs, your old fears, your old people pleasing rituals, your old identity contracts, all of those things. So it's really important that we understand that we need to go in. Now, most people struggle to decide because they're trying to choose from a crowded internal room. So you have some decisions there in front of you, right? Some choices to make. Now, if you're trying to make a choice and you're struggling to make that choice, perhaps you're making it from a crowded internal room. So what I'd like to do, what I'm feeling called to do, is to naming some of the voices, let's say, naming some of the voices in that crowded space so that you can actually learn to distinguish them. And then once you can distinguish them, your whole life gets a whole lot cleaner because you'll know what you need to be paying attention to and what not. So let's look at probably one of the loudest voices is the fear voice. Fear is exceptionally loud. Fear is urgent. Fear is catastrophic. Fear says, oh my God, decide now before you miss the opportunity. Oh my God, you've got to do it now. Fix it now. Change it now. What if you get it wrong? Right? Fear never, ever guides you. Fear pressures you. Right? Let me know if this is landing. Right? You have a crowded internal space. This is the only reason you don't have access to your intuition. You have a crowded internal space. There are three major voices there. One of the strongest is fear. fear is very loud. Let me know if that is landing. It puts pressure on you. Anytime there is internal pressure, that is fear speaking. Then we have, let's go to ego, number 2, voice number 2. Ego isn't evil. All right, I really need you to understand this, right? The ego voice isn't evil. Ego is an aspect of self or identity trying to stay safe. So it knows the better the devil you know, right? It's like, oh, come on, I know this is not easy and what have you, but at least we know we're safe here, right? So the ego says, let's just stay as we are. It's safer here. The ego also says, what will people think? It doesn't want to be embarrassed. The ego will say, well, will I be rejected? What if I'm rejected? What if I look foolish? The ego doesn't want any of that because it just wants to stay the same. And if it stays the same and it doesn't change, then it knows its terrain, right? It knows its current territory. It doesn't want to look foolish. Ego is obsessed with perception. It is obsessed with control, and it is obsessed with being seen a certain way. Please let me know if that's landing. That came through really nicely. I like that. See, let me know if that's landing. That is voice number 2 of your crowded room. And then we have the knowing voice. Now, the knowing voice is calm. It's clean. You even notice when you tap into the knowing voice that you breathe deeper, slower, more rhythmic. Knowing absolutely doesn't beg. Knowing doesn't rush. And I'm not saying that knowing doesn't take action. It knows exactly when to take action, and it takes aligned action. Knowing lands in the body like a feeling of yes, yes, it's a big yes from me. Yes, this is it. Or no, not this. No waffle, no stories. So your power comes from learning the difference between a nervous system alarm and a soul instruction or guidance at a soul level. Hello, beautiful Olivia. How are you? Hello, beautiful people. Landing. Beautiful. So you want to pay attention. What is it you're taking advice from? And here's an aha that probably many of you need. Sometimes, I can feel an ouch coming already. Sometimes what you call intuition is actually a protective reflex. Sometimes it's the fear speaking. And you look at how many ideas that you've had that you haven't run with. And then someone else comes up with the idea, someone else creates it, someone else does the invention, whatever it is, right? Or time passes and you look back and I really should have done that. But you didn't for what reason? You did it because of fear, because the fear voice was loud and the fear voice was running the show. But you believed at the time that it was intuition. So what you listened to wasn't your intuition. What you listened to was your protective reflex. And sometimes the body is responding to an old wound, not present truth. Sometimes it's responding to the aspect that has tried many things in the past and they haven't worked out, to perhaps the wrong choices that you made that you beat yourself up over. But it's not responding to present truth. So we want to make sure that you gain clarity on what it is that you're listening to, and to stop listening to trauma responses, because a trauma response will feel like the same sort of thing as fear, right? A trauma response will feel like urgency. A trauma response in your body will feel like pressure. It will feel like a spiraling sensation. It will feel like I have to, I must, I need to, I need to control the outcome even. It's a chaotic feeling of dread, right, that hijacks the mind. It keeps you hypervigilant. And actually it's hypervigilance disguised as being careful. You will think you're just being careful, that you're being realistic, that you're using your mind. So trauma is a nervous system trying to avoid pain at all costs. Gut knowing, your intuition, right? Gut knowing is completely different because it's calm, it's certain, it's grounded, there's a steadiness, there's a a quiet, yeah. It's really grounded. It's grounded expansion up against that feeling of contraction. Actually, no, I'm going to correct myself there. It's a grounded expansion for a yes or a contraction for a no. But you need to learn to work out what it is you're listening to, because if you're listening to the fear that contracts, then you're listening to the wrong voice. But if you are calm and grounded in your knowing, then your yes, and yes generally feels expansive, yes feels light, no feels heavy and quite contracting. So it's about the practice of listening to those internal voices and recognizing that in the past the room was very crowded and you perhaps listened to the wrong voice. Also, the inner knowing is a feeling of, it's a voice that has a feeling of inner alignment. And it's an alignment that doesn't need convincing. You might not know why you want to take door B or why you want to go that path, but you also don't need to convince yourself, because there is just a knowing. And the knowing doesn't scream. Very, very rarely will a knowing ever scream. Knowing is a quiet, strong authority. So the next time you feel stuck, ask, is this a calm clarity, or is it a frantic need for certainty? So you want to ask yourself those questions. And I think it's important to understand that the demand for certainty, because too often we want that, right? I want to know what's behind door B, and I need a written contract that it's going to be every move I make is a success, right? But the demand for certainty is often the fear of trusting yourself. So it's still driven by fear. And people say, yeah, but I just need to be sure. But you know what's underneath that? Underneath it is, I'm afraid to back myself. But I just want to be sure. No, you're afraid to back yourself. You're afraid of, here's the truth, right? You're afraid of being responsible for your choices. Well, but I'm afraid of being judged if I choose. Again, you're afraid of being responsible for your choices. Can you see it's all the same sort of thing? It's all the same sort of thing. And this is also why so many people will reach out to other people for, intuitive guidance, let's say. I'm not sure if I should do this or should do that. But you know what? If you're having to ask, then all that tells me is that you are bypassing your own knowingness. So I would be doing you a disservice to tell you the answer. Although I do have coaching clients, and I work with CEOs also, and sometimes they have just important decisions to make and they're not quite sure. So I will let them know what I see in their energy field while they're speaking, which is generally a good giveaway. It bypasses the noise in their mind. But I help them generally through breath work or some processes to clear the path so they see very clearly, because they're going to stand right behind that choice if they see it for themselves. So it's an opportunity then to tap into your inner knowingness and to back yourself all the way, because you know it, you feel it to be right, which is a lot stronger than somebody else telling you this is the right path to take. So I'm hoping that's landing. I swear, Joanne must have been in the room, quite possibly. This is actually all inspired by Brianna's question. So maybe, who knows, energetically, because what I did is I have pages and pages of questions that people have asked. So it's just a quick flick, and whichever one stands out is the one that I picked. Oh, it's one, anytime I answer people's questions, the one that stands out is the one that I go with. So we really need to talk about the real thieves of your knowingness, and in absolute honesty, because this is where many of you suddenly see why your gut gets drowned out. And people are not struggling because they're not capable. It's got nothing to do with being capable. You're struggling because you're being hijacked. You're being hijacked by covert influences. But as I said in the very beginning of this module, it's that covert influences outside of you, but also inside of you. And if we go again deeper to what's inside of you, approval addiction, there's a big one. That every time you think, but what will they think? What if I get judged? What if it doesn't work? So you're listening to approval addiction. And if you're in that state, if you're trapped in that state and you're making a choice from that state, then what you're actually doing is you are making a choice that looks good, not that's true. That should be a big ouch for some of you. Or there is the urgency spell. Okay, these are just more voices. I started off with two voices, fear. Yeah, I started off with a couple of voices and the knowingness, and here we are diving deeper again. What about the urgency spell? And what I mean by that is the thoughts that go, oh my God, I've got to decide now. I've got to make the decision now. It has to be made now. I can't, like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? Urgency reduces discernment altogether. It narrows your vision. It short circuits wisdom. There's absolutely no wisdom if you can't breathe properly. If you can't access your inner knowing, there is zero wisdom. You are under pressure, which is again the fear thing. We spoke about, we touched on the guilt, but the guilt hook is also the internal voice for that for you would be, but if I choose me, I'm selfish. Somebody needed to hear that. That came through a bit of a buzz. If I choose me, then I'm selfish. Guilt keeps you loyal to other people's comfort. And this is also why perhaps you're not living this is perhaps why, and I know who it's for. You're welcome. This is perhaps why you're not more quickly making the move that you know in your heart you want to make. And I know you want to make it, but you've got to stop being loyal to other people's comfort rather than what you were born for. And this is an opportunity for you to live your purpose and your passion and to like live an aligned life that doesn't feel like work. I'm not saying that you don't work. I'm saying I do crazy hours, but I absolutely love what I do. So it never feels like work. Honestly, crazy long hours, early mornings through to late night, every day. Weekends, what are they? I just, I can be anywhere I want, whenever I want, but for me, every day is just a day that I will squeeze things in, I will plan things, I will do things because I love what I do and it doesn't feel like work. So I'm not going to say that, I do crazy hours, but it's not a hard slog for me because I love what I do. I am blessed to be living my purpose and my passion and to be touching lives so deeply. So for each and every one of you, what stops you from living your purpose, your passion? And you know what? People say fear. This is something that comes up. Well, this is taking a little bit of a turn. People say fear. But you're avoiding living a life that inspires you because I promise you, the purpose that you were born for is never going to be something that you hate. It is not going to be something that makes you so terribly uncomfortable. When you live your purpose, you are living your passion because they are one in the same thing. They are one in the same thing. So then another thing would be holding you back would be the old identity contract. And I bet you, it's so amazing because I'm actually feeling like many of you are right here with me right now. So I'm speaking directly to you. But the old identity contract is, well, this is just who I am. But I always do this. Why do I always sabotage myself? Why do I always, doubt myself, etc.? And this is going to sound really harsh, and I don't mean it to be harsh, but if we just go to the truth, because you're addicted, you're addicted to it. And I know you don't like it. I know you don't like the feeling of sabotaging yourself. I know you don't like the feeling of holding yourself back. And you'll say, this is just who I am, and why do I always do it? Because you're used to what you always do. And you know that you will survive what you always do. You know the feeling of self-abandonment. You know the feeling of shrinking. You know the feeling of holding yourself back, and you are used to it, and it hasn't killed you yet. So you will choose that over stepping into the unknown. Maybe it's a good thing you're on the other side of the screen. What are all the stories? Oh my goodness, this is too big for me. What if I can't do it? I'm not that kind of person. I can't stand up there and speak. Whatever it is, there's stories up here. Identity is the strongest governor of choice. For as long as you hold on to it, that old identity, it is going to keep on making choices that do not serve you. And that identity is built on old programs. Marina literally said those words about being selfish. Oh my God, Marina. You got yeps, we got ouches. Hello, beautiful Libby. How are you? So, on that, here is another wide open truth. If you don't see the trigger or the hook, then you think it's you. You think you're confused. You think there's something wrong with you. You think you're indecisive, right? But many times you're not indecisive. You're just internally manipulated. Well, and I know we talk about the covert influence and the thing is too, the covert influence outside of us. And then we go, they're doing that. The system sucks. This happens, this happens, this happens. Oh my God, I can see it in plain sight in the education system, and they're normalizing this and they're normalizing that. But as within, as without, as above, so below, right? We've got to get our inside sorted. You're being internally manipulated, and you're internally manipulated by the old programs that you continue to hang on to. And once you start to see that really clearly, you stop blaming anything outside of you, but you also stop blaming anything inside of you. And instead, you start doing the work to clear them. You start leading yourself. Please let me know if that's landing. Brianna, thank you, because I think so many people are being touched by this call, which all started with your question. I know I've deviated a fair bit, but I think it's an amazing question. So we have to understand that our inner knowing, our guidance is not a thought. Our knowing is a bodily intelligence. And that's why people say, I just had this gut feeling. I just knew I had to do it. I felt it. I could feel it in my bones, right? That's why you feel lighter or an expansion with the yes and heavier and a contraction with the no. That's why something can look absolutely perfect on paper. The figures look right. The path ahead looks absolutely amazing on paper, but your body screams out, no, 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 contraction, heaviness. So the body is the first place that truth speaks. But the body can only speak clearly when the nervous system is not flooded or in a state of overload. So if I was to give you a rule to live by, it would be regulation first, decision second. And what I mean by that is breathe first. Take a moment to breathe. You don't have to answer anything right now. Take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to breathe. Regain clarity, get yourself centered, get yourself feeling strong, understand what internal voice you're listening to, and then choose. Because a dysregulated system can't hear the subtle truth. And the noise of the head is always far louder than the wisdom of the heart. And if you want to tap into the wisdom of the heart and actually make the voice of the heart louder, then what you need to be doing, it's incredibly simple. Place 2 fingers or a few fingers, but you're going to put pressure on your heart center, right there in the middle of the chest. You're going to take a couple of deep breaths and you're going to ask the question. And because you are pressing firmly on this spot here, now what's happening is your attention is going to this spot here rather than here. And what happens is you make the whispers of your heart louder than the bullshit of your mind. Because for as long as you're in overload, if you're in a dysregulated system, you cannot hear the subtle truth. You can only hear the loud threat. And this is why the loudest voice always wins. The loudest voice always wins with the external world. When you have enough people saying the same thing, it normalizes it. You start to believe it to be true. The subconscious mind will always try to align itself with the biggest group, with the biggest tribe, because we believe there's safety in numbers. It's going to go with the majority, not the minority. So that's what happens inside of us as well. So if there's a lot of noise happening in the head, the loudest noise is going to win, because you can only hear that loud threat. So I'm going to give you a protocol. I just want to make sure I've missed it. It's not only that it landed, it crashed. You're welcome. All right. So I'd like to give you a protocol or a technique or a tool. I don't even think I like any of those names, what I'm about to share with you. But it's something that you can use for all aspects of life, for relationships, for money, for business, and life direction. And it's simple enough to remember, but deep enough to change everything. So let's call it an inner compass. I have to stick with protocol for now because it's not getting anything else. An inner compass protocol. So it's going to help you make those cleaner, clearer decisions. So step one is to slow down the system. If you feel urgency, pause. We did this a moment ago. I talked about stopping and breathing before you make a choice. Just pause. Focus on your breathing. And you're not avoiding anything. You're regaining access. And here's the question you're going to ask. We're just going to take the process I mentioned earlier. We're going to take it a bit deeper. And you're going to ask, is this decision truly urgent? Or is my nervous system activated or even hijacked? So you're going to ask yourself questions, because now you're going to know if you're coming from a state of overload or not. Is my system activated or hijacked? Is this truly urgent? And then you're going to name the feeling, like just naming the trigger, naming the hook, right? Name the feeling. What is trying to hijack me? Think back to the voices we spoke about earlier, fear, guilt, etc., right? What is trying to hijack me? Is it approval? Is it guilt? Is it fear? Is it scarcity? Is it fear of being alone? Is it fear of being judged? Try and name it as detailed as you possibly can. And why am I asking you to name it? Because naming it breaks spells, because it's saying, you know what, I freaking see you. Because here's the thing, you keep doing things a certain way, so you don't even take a moment to name it. You think it's just you. But when you can look it in the eyes, and when you can say, I recognize you. I know who you are. Not on my freaking watch, right? Then it's starting to lose power already. It's you're breaking spells, right? It is losing power. And then step 3, you're going to ask the body the right question. So most people will say, but what should I do? I'm not asking you to do that. Because to say, what should I do whilst you're in a state of overstimulation or you're overactivated, you're not going to get a clear answer. But instead, what you're actually going to say is, if I choose this, what does my body feel like in 24 hours? Can you see the difference there? If I choose this now, what does my body feel like in 24 hours? If I don't choose this now, what does my body feel like in 24 hours? Vastly, vastly different questions. Because remember, the body senses alignment before the mind can rationalize it away. I'm hoping that's landing. And please feel free to ask me any questions if you need me to explain anything a little bit more. And something that I'll often ask my clients is, if they're having trouble deciding on something, it's everything I do is very simple, right? But I will simply say, I want you to imagine it, whatever it is, the opportunity, the relationship, the whatever it is. Imagine it being taken away. How do you feel? And if they say they feel, a sense of relief, like the pressure's gone, like a sense of relief, feeling lighter, feeling clearer. then that's your answer. It wasn't for you. So that's another simple one. And of course, vice versa. Step 4, we did 1, 2, 3, yes. Step 4 is to find your truth or your truth tone. And I've mentioned this before, truth is steady. Truth is steady. Truth will never try to convince you. You need to do it. Yes, yes, it's a big yes because blah, 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 blah. Truth never, ever does that. It's like, yes, yes, go for it. Truth does it, like the heart doesn't waffle. And ask, what choice makes me feel more me? What choice makes me feel more me? And just listen to what comes. What is my next best step? And listen to what comes. And we're going to add another one. 5. That's going to be just to add to 4 a little bit, to choose the next best step, not the whole plan. Too many people wait until they see the entire staircase. Stop waiting for the staircase. I want you just to take a step forward, to see the first step, the cleanest next step, the next step that feels right. So many people freeze up and do nothing because they're trying to decide their entire future. You're not here to decide your entire future. You're here just to decide what to do now. And truth reveals itself through movement. You take one step and the next step will reveal itself. But instead of sitting back here waiting for all the steps to reveal themselves, it's not going to happen that way. And if it does happen that way, it's usually fakery. It's usually manipulation. So let me show you how all this is really interesting where we're going with this. Let me show you how this all shows up in real life. In relationships, sometimes you already know. You just don't want it to be true. Because love can be present and capacity can still be missing. And what do I mean by that? The truth is, you may want whatever it is that you want, but you need to understand that hope is not a strategy when someone lacks capacity. Actually, maybe you want to write that down. Hope is not a strategy. You can't live in hope if somebody lacks the capacity. And they also don't have to be who you want them to be. And that's a really tough one for people to understand. Love and respect everybody enough to let them live their life their way. Hoping they'll become someone they're not is not a healthy strategy for you, because you will lose so much power. And one thing I say to clients often is I get them to point to a piece of furniture in their room. I say, I want you to point to a chair. Have you got a chair there? I say, can that chair hug you? Can that chair take you out dancing once a week? Can that chair, romance you? No, it's a chair. It's your husband. When people have that realization that they're expecting something that doesn't have the capacity to do something that they desire, they start to see things very, very differently. Okay. Your body knows when it's safe. Your body knows when you're shrinking. Your body knows when you're pretending just to keep the peace. And if you keep abandoning yourself to stay connected, I'm still on the relationship topic, right? If you keep abandoning yourself, losing yourself, because you think that will keep you connected, that's not connection. We need to be really honest here. What you're actually doing is you are choosing to lose yourself. You are literally erasing yourself. Oh my goodness. I feel like we've gone around a little bit. This is just stuff that's coming through that needs to be shared. That's relationships. How about business? Business, money, right? Scarcity makes people rush. A feeling of lack makes people rush. It makes people undercharge. It makes people say yes to opportunities that they know in their heart are not really good for them, or not aligned with them, not aligned with their morals. It makes people grab at maybe because they don't trust that their yes is coming. So it's like I'm waiting for the best opportunity, the opportunity that really aligns with me, but it hasn't come yet. And this has come. I've got to take this because I'm not trusting enough that my yes is coming. So you want to start asking yourself, is this me in a state of clean and clear expansion? Or am I making this choice because it's fear driven and grasping at something because I need something? Aligned opportunity doesn't arrive as desperation. So important that you understand that. Aligned opportunity doesn't ever, ever arrive as desperation. And if you're investing, if you're launching, if you're pivoting, if you're leaving a job, you have to also understand that clarity is never, ever, ever, and I mean ever, born in panic. You cannot have clarity in panic. So then let's look at life direction. And I think this is a big one for someone in particular on the call. And the messaging earlier was for you as well. But let's look at life direction, or moving or shifting, or career shifts, purpose changes, all of those sorts of things, right? Many people fear making the wrong choice. And that's where you are. Fear of making the wrong choice at the wrong time. But the truth is that most people never, ever regret choosing. Most people actually live regretting, oh my goodness, most people live regretting the fact that they have been betraying their own knowing. Life is not a multiple choice exam. Life is a relationship with your soul. Your life is a relationship with your soul. What are you going to do? Oh, what an interesting call. I would love for us to do a process. Let's do a process. I want you to experience this, not just to understand it, but I want this to just go click, 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 and align for you, and for you to leave this call aligned. So if you can, I would love for you, please, to place one hand on your heart and the other hand on your belly. And I'd like for you to close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and exhale. And again, a deep breath in and exhale. And I want you to feel your body. Feel your breath. And simply say, I choose to return to myself. I choose to return to myself. And now bring to mind a decision that you have been sitting on. Could be any decision, relationship, money, direction. Just think of something that's been taking up some space. And now notice what happens in your body as you think of it. Just think about that decision that needs to be made. No judgment. But now we're going to choose to clear all the interference. So I want you now to imagine approval, guilt, urgency, fear, like noise in the room. And I want you to say, I release all the urgency. Step out. I release all the need to be liked. Now, step out. I release the fear of being judged. Now, step out. I release the guilt. I release all that I've been carrying about this. And just breathe. Breathe deeply. Breathe rhythmically. And now bring awareness behind your heart, like there's a steady flame there, just feeling and imagining a beautiful, steady flame right there. This is your tone of truth. Breathing deeply, breathing rhythmically, and now asking your body, if I choose what is true, what do I feel? Don't force it. Just notice. What does truth feel like in my body? And now ask, if I choose what is not true, what do I feel? And notice the difference. Perhaps there was a little bit of anxiety there in the heart. Just noticing the difference between the two. Tightening, contraction, expansion, softening, heaviness, light. Just notice the difference between the two. When you looked at what was true, when you felt what was true, did it feel like expansion, a softening, a relief? Did it feel light? When you felt what was not true, did it feel like a contraction? Did it feel heavy? Did it feel small? Did it feel like an anxiety, a feeling of anxiety, a flutter of anxiety in the heart? This is all the language of your inner compass. And now I want you to make a vow, quiet but absolute. I choose to never abandon myself. And breathe. And now just trust in what comes. What is your next best step? Not the whole plan. What is your next best step? One step. Let that one step rise. Perhaps it's an image, perhaps it's a knowing, perhaps you hear something, whatever it is. Let that next step be known to you. And simply say, I trust myself enough to take the next step. And breathe deeply. And now that hand that's resting on your heart, I want you to form a fist with that hand. Form a fist with the hand that is over your heart, as if to anchor this in. And with that closed fist there over your heart, I want you to say, this is my truth. This is my center. I choose from here. I choose from here. And now let both hands rest comfortably. Taking a deep breath in. And as you exhale, opening your eyes. I think so many components from tonight's call have landed for many of you. So a huge thank you again to Brianna. Your question has been absolute gold. Because when you learn to trust your knowing, your whole life changes. You stop being easily influenced. You stop being pulled by any noise, let alone the loudest noise. You stop confusing fear for intuition and you start living with eyes wide open, not just in the world, but within yourself. Because discernment is never about suspicion. Discernment is absolute clarity. Discernment is self trust with a regulated nervous system. Actually, I'd like to leave you with a little something. You don't need certainty, you need connection. Connection to your body, connection to your truth, connection to your inner power, your inner authority. It's just about connection. You're never disconnected from source. It's impossible to be disconnected from source. But anytime you feel that you can't get a clear answer, you need to come back to self. You need to come back to self. So to each and every one of you, may your yes be loud and clear. May your no be something that you also honor and follow because it is inner wisdom speaking. May your choices become a reflection of who you are, not who you have been trained or groomed to be. I wish for you all your heart desires. Remember, please, when you feel urgency, what is urgency? Fear. What do you do when you feel urgency or fear? You stop, you pause, you breathe. When you feel guilt or anything pulling you back, name it, disempower. You let it know, I freaking see you. Not on my watch, not on my watch, buddy. You name it, you disempower it. You bring yourself back into the present moment, into your power. You breathe with absolute clarity. You move with clarity. And remember, this is your life, your choice. And just all you need to do is take the next step and the other steps will reveal themselves. All right. Much love to each and every one of you. You are so very welcome. You are so very welcome. I really feel a lot of aspects of that landed for many of you. May you become so connected to your own inner knowing that nothing outside of you can ever talk you out of what you know to be true. Amen. Amen. Good night, everybody. You're so very welcome, everybody.